Subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon to never miss an update.
Please don't study one day prior to CAT. It just doesn't make sense because it's not a chemistry paper. Like, it's not a 10th or a 12th standard chemistry paper that you have formulas that you could revise. I mean, like, just before your CAT, make sure all your documents are in order. I wasn't very sure if I wanted to do an Indian MBA or a global MBA, but then I think CAT was just the next step. 2018 CAT happened and I couldn't do a lot of wonders in there. Finally took the 2019 CAT and made it to IMD. My overall score was a 98 percentile. My sectional being a 98.3 in verbal, 99.4 in DI, and an 84.2 in quant. I feel that in an Indian business space, a non-MBA degree could hit you as a roadblock anytime. Like, unlike foreign countries, because we have a lot of competition and the sheer number of our population, you could easily hit a roadblock in your career because you don't have an MBA. Because an MBA is like a signal to the market that you are interested in learning more and you have the capability of doing a postgraduate. Students have a much larger flexibility and a time, disposal at their hands. But anyone who's working, I was working almost like at a minimum of 12 hours a day. I wasn't in a regular 9-to-5 job. I would even spend about like 18 hours at work sometimes because that was the sort of work I was into. So what I was consistent with was practice. Like, I used to get a small time frame, maybe during lunch. Like, if I have my lunch, if I'm having my lunch and, I see that I finished my lunch early and I can still, take a small break. So I would, just quickly Google some questions, or I would have printouts and pullouts from, study materials. I used to tear them from there. I used to put them in my desk and I used to, pull a sheet in case I'm waiting for some emails, I'm waiting for some inputs. So, I would solve them there and then. If I would travel from work to home, I would make sure that I'm listening to a video. Like, there were so many concepts that I needed to brush and I need to revise and what not. So, there's just so much good content on YouTube that everyone can make use, and you could be hearing it constantly. You could be just looking at it constantly. And another thing for quant is for verbal is definitely reading. See, I mean, everyone needs to read the newspaper, right? Like, and not just newspaper. You can go ahead and read certain good articles and some editorials as well. So I feel a lot of verbal prep happens there because if you're spontaneous with it, you're spontaneous. Like, you can go do your questions. And again, like, anyone who's working, it's more about having that dedicated time that, no matter what time I'm going to end work today, I'm going to take out an hour. And no matter what happens in the morning, I have to do like at least 2 sets of DI in the day. Again, whatever your pain and pressure points are. So I mean, for me, it was mostly quant that I needed to focus on. So I used to keep solving quant questions as and when I could. And when you talk about, learning from the first time to the second time, I think what I did better the second time was that I took sectional tests. So for anyone who's working, a 3-hour time window is like a huge like, like, you have to sit for that. I mean, I know now CAT is 2 hours, so that's all the more better. But still, like, again, and like, it's going to be 40 minutes per section versus an hour of versus 2 hours of full-fledged mock. So in case you can't give in those 2 hours, I think it's a smart move to do a lot of sectional tests instead, because you can analyze them also quickly. Like, you can literally analyze them as soon as you've taken the test, because you can put in that hours now. And I think that was the point. I think from my second was basically practice and a lot more dedication. As well. If someone is to not begin today, but someone like sits down today with focus that today I'm going to make sure that I want to first of all find out in what are you lagging. So take 2 or 3 mocks, see a pattern. Are you falling short on DI or are you falling short on verbal? Let's suppose it's DI. That just means you need to practice. Again, there's no set formulas. There's no set anything for DI. It's about, pick up past CAT papers, because DI has been a little difficult. I think 2018 CAT was quite difficult. So, pick up those papers and make sure you solve them, because the more number of questions you expose yourself to, the more sort of I think you're in the zone. Like, you're in the zone that, if from today onwards till the D-Day you keep solving these particular questions, I think you'll be in the zone and you would go and think in that sense. Another thing could be, again, managing your time, like making sure that your energy and your focus lasts for those 2 hours. So since it's just 45 days, that you need to make sure that 2 hour sitting is very productive, because in CAT, once you reach your center, you still have about half an hour before you begin to write your examination. So, you need to make sure that 2 hours, you're very, very used to that 2 hour sitting. So let's say someone is falling behind on their verbal. Like, you take 4-5 marks, you see that you've been falling behind on your verbal. So I think the best would be, either take the past few papers, because that's exactly the kind of standard you're targeting, right? Now, like, nothing less, nothing more. So pick up the last 5 years papers, print them, time yourself and solve them, right? Realize where you're going wrong. Let's say you're mostly mucking up your jumbled sentences. I think pick up any resource that you have, any study material that you've taken, and put in a week, put in whatever time you think is okay. Put in that week, and do those questions. Like, just sit and do those questions dedicatedly. I'm assuming there should be a good jump in the next mock you take. If not, get back to process one. See the sort of questions you're making a mistake in, because there's got to be a pattern. And then, like, let's say you come to cons. So you could be bad at averages and you could be good in probability, or vice versa. So in case if you're falling behind in probability, pick up your Arun Sharma or whatever your book that you're following. Solve the entire chapter. It's okay. I know it's going to take time, but then that's important, right? Because that's sort of a bottleneck. So, you can pick up your probability chapter from that book and solve the entire thing. Solve as many questions as you can find of probability, from your previous CAT papers. So that the next time you take your mock, you're not scared of those questions and you're approaching them better, hopefully with a better understanding of the concept. I think a good night's sleep. Please don't study one day prior to CAT. It just doesn't make sense, because it's not a chemistry paper. Like, it's not a 10 or 12 standard chemistry paper that you have formulas that you could revise. I mean, like, just before your CAT, make sure all your documents are in order. Fine if you want to revise some quant formulas, go ahead. Let's say you thought that, like, few questions were tricky, like here and there, then you would want to see, okay, like, let's say something based on an XYZ theorem. Go ahead, revise that. So I got calls from Indore, from Kozhikode, and from Bangalore. So my Bangalore interview was with actually very senior professors that I realize now. I know them now because I've been studying with them. I think my interview was very conversational, very, very conversational. There was never a time that it was, okay, tell what is ABC. That was never the time. They would actually, we had industry experts, we had alumni, and we had professors on the panel. So it was extremely conversational. They would to the extent that we were even joking with each other in between. So, and not because it was just a smart comment that sir made, and I could counter and I could say something else, and that's the only part, right? Like, I feel that they are not there to judge you in the sense how robotically or how mechanically you can answer. It's about how you can mold your experience and show them how you fit into their business. The whole point is that you need to make sure that you show them that you want to do an MBA, the reason why you want to do an MBA, and that you're a good fit for the campus. So my entire interview was very conversational. It was mostly around my work experience. I mean, I wasn't asked what is the new, who won the Nobel Prize recently. Like, I wasn't asked something like that. It was not. And, I really respect that in the sense that I think general knowledge is something that everyone should know. But I feel that this is, the way it's followed here, it's a lot. They check you as a whole person. They check your entire knowledge. Like, if you know things that are general happening, if you know current happening, how can you relate them, say, to your work, or how could you relate them to something else? So, they asked me all about my work. It's in the finance and the banking background. So, they would ask me any scams that went through over there, or they could ask me any shortcomings that the current industry has. So things on that. A lot of my conversation was on why I want to do an MBA, because again, a 3-year work is a decent amount of time. And they kept asking me that, why do you think you want to come now and maybe not another year later, or maybe why didn't you come to us last year? So things like that, they kept conversing on that. But then again, you have to keep them engaged. You can't give rote learned answers. If you're a student, then it's mostly a subject, right? If you're working, it's your industry that's your focus. So you need to be very, very aware of, starting from January itself till your interviews, and maybe the major things that have happened even during the past year. You need to be very, very aware, and I think it just gives you a sense of confidence. You can write, you can use it in your writing styles, in your WAT, you can use it in your verbatim, in your PI, and similarly you can use it to converse in a GD. So it was obviously at home. I'd had so many plans that, okay, if my results come out, I'm going to party with my friends, I'm going to do this, do that. I think it was just a sigh of relief, like for me, because I tried last year also, and I sort of just I didn't get through. So I think it was more a sigh of relief that, thank God, finally.
Hi guys, Inside IIM has come up with an exciting new one-on-one mentorship product where you get to interact with superstar managers from different businesses, different functions. You can ask them everything around your career, your education, your future success. If you are interested, the link is in the description below. Thanks.